the Lord. I was freaking out. I was like, what could this possibly be? Well, I love those movies. Those are really good. Well, the first two.
Yes. And more seeming like reality in our daily lives.
It's true.
Yeah. What a way to go by a cool robot.
Amen. So, you want to go over the questions and stuff first?
I think we can.
Are you good?
I think we're good starting into them. If you want to make sure that they're set, I don't know what kind of chunk sizes of time you like to work with. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, I don't know. But if you want to manage, because when I get going, I can do 30 minutes, no problem. And that's not a good thing for this kind of format.
Well, I mean,
unless the people are ready for it.
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, we don't want to push over like an hour because it'll take me 3 months to edit the video. but other than that, I'm good. Yeah, but other than that, I'm fine. I'm not too worried about it. But I was thinking as far as the science stuff that you've been working on, I think like a good teaser would be good for that, and then we can just do a whole video for that later on if that's okay with you, so that we have time to actually cover everything.
So we don't want to cover anything from the science on this call?
No, we can do that, but I'm just saying like a trailer, kind of like a miniature version, so then we can say we're going to come back and talk about this, and then we have all the time in the world, and that way it's not like 20 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Good, great. I love that. That's super. Yeah, if you ask the questions one by one, I'll try to. You can always give me a timeout signal, or or cut in if it's starting to get too long, and steer me.
No, well, okay, but I'm extremely interested, and I've been excited about this forever. But I'm gonna start out because I don't know how I'm going to edit it, but the reason it's set up like this is I'm on a green screen right here, and I have another camera shooting right in front of me, and you're going to be like in a TV screen or like something. I'm going to green screen you into it to where we could be like anywhere. We could be in the house or like the theme park from the movie or anything. So yeah, so we'll do.
Inside a pyramid.
Yeah, ooh. Yeah, that would be good. But I'm just going to start, we're just going to pretend like we've never spoken and just say, hey, how you doing and stuff to start out with. Hello, Hello, Mr. Bill, how you doing?
Well, Josh, hi. What a pleasant surprise, you showing up on my screen out of the clear blue. Lovely.
How you doing today?
Doing real good. Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be able to have a chance to have a conversation with you and your fans, and looking forward to our chatting it up.
Me too. I'm super excited. So, what we normally do first thing is talk about what your favorite movie of all time that you're not in is.
It changes.
Me too.
So, it changes. And also it depends on what kind of a mood I'm in, what kind of a movie. Like, for a long time, the Bourne franchise was, I couldn't watch that enough. And then I moved on to something else, I think. I started moving on to independent gems, like Crazy People. And
what's Crazy People? What's it about?
Dudley Moore is Madison Avenue advertising executive who just kind of goes off the deep end. They put him in an insane asylum, tucked away, and he teaches everybody there in the day room how to write ad copy. He starts making commercials, and they're super fabulously popular. And they're bizarre commercials, so how it happened. And the cast is charming, absolutely charming performances. There's my wife Morgan has found a lot of these little gems, and I've been really enjoying them a great deal.
What's something that you've seen lately that you're really liking a lot?
I'll tell you something. Ernest Saves Christmas.
I love that movie.
He is so brilliant at humor.
I agree.
He is incredibly humorous, and he dug Shakespeare the most, you know.
Huh.
Oh yeah, but all his intonations, especially when he's dowager, you know. I need him to look at my will. Since I walked from the airport, I'll be dead soon.
He's funny. I've always loved him.
Yeah, yes.
Ever since I was a little kid, he's so good. I love Ernest Goes to Camp. Some of them got a little. Ernest Goes to Jail. That was really good. Some of them were a little shaky, but those were all just commercials when they started. It was just local commercials. That was where that character came from. It's nuts.
I saw him here in Austin on a number of local commercials for local weather station. He'd be up on a ladder at the edge of a roof, and the camera would be on the top of the roof looking down at him, and he'd go, "Hey, Vern, did you hear about XYZ? Yeah." And and then later on, saw him in his movies. That was kind of a kick. And then in Toy Story, he's pretty great.
Slinky Dog.
And his appearances on The Simpsons, I really enjoyed a great deal.
I didn't know he was in that.
His voice is a voice character.
Wow.
Yeah, he was some kind of a mountain folk kind of guy who was just a little, or maybe he was, he was a carnival person.
Oh.
So there's a bit of sleight of hand going on there. And on Roseanne, his appearances on Roseanne.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been around. He has a lot of friends. A lot of his friends are in his movies. They keep showing up,
Jed Clampett. He was Jed Clampett in that Beverly Hillbillies movie. Did you ever see that?
Oh, I missed that.
You need to see it.
I remember Buddy Epson with such, great fondness because he was so perfect.
He did good. Jim Varney did really good in it. You would like it, I bet. It's funny.
I bet I will. Yeah, he's excellent. He has such a sense of humor. And that's one of the great things about the Beverly Hillbillies. There was good humor in there. And Buddy Epson did not step too heavily on it, which was a sign of a pro.
Yeah. That's hard. That's hard with actors and entertainers and stuff like that, because I do live shows and I work with people sometimes, and there's that delicate balance you always have to walk between. It's kind of like, you first. No, you first. Like, you always have to make sure everybody's getting along and doing good, So that's...
Yes, that's right. Scout leader, den leader, that sort of thing. Leadership.
So, how did you get into acting in the first place? Was that something that you had always wanted to do, or did that just kind of happen, or what happened?
As a boomer, post-World War II, in a hard-scrabble, blue-collar family on the outskirts of economic collapse. The only thing I had was hope. Somehow I hoped I would get out of school before going to jail.
Amen.
or the grave.
Double
so
amen.
I tried to scoot out, and I signed up for I asked my pals, what's an easy class? Oh, take that voice class, that's easy. I said, good. I took it, and the speech teacher was this, genius from left field. He was probably a beatnik at some point in his life. I think he was educated in Boston. And, this would have been 60s. Yeah, generation for him. And he read to us. He read to us from Dickens and Shakespeare, and he would act it out. And then he would tell us what stuff meant, and our minds would get blown every single class. And I thought, hey, are we out? And so graduated, and I applied for a scholarship in Texas. Well, I had a lot of colleges, and I got one from Texas, and I went there, and I was in their acting program in Lon Morris College in Jacksonville, Texas. And that was just a natural stepping stone to go to UT, where I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in performing.
Oh, wow.
So with that little baby, I've been able to buy a cup of coffee at whatever it costs. So, but it was a great experience going through to procuring that bizarre sort of documentation, which I think prepared me later, certainly for like the movies, because of my directing classes, because I started to understand how the stories were put together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always the actor, the actor just has to do their little brick in the wall part, and the director brings in, arranging the wall that the playwright brought in.
Right.
And they built a special wonder wall for the times that they lived in, and it's up to the director to determine what that intention was, how it applies to today, and translate that into understandable theater for the folk coming in nowadays.
Right. Yeah. How did you, what happened to lead to you getting Leatherface? How did that happen?
That was a standard audition process.
Really?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Why should that sound odd?
Well, I feel like in that position, that first movie was so huge that I wasn't sure exactly how they would cast something like that, because it was just a monster movie, no pun intended. So I didn't know if they were just gonna send stuff out here, we like you, or if they would just let just anybody come in, because I felt like if they did that, there would have been thousands of people trying to get that part, it seems like.
There were thousands of people, but it was more organized.
Mm-hmm.
When Toby did the first movie, he was a student, and he was doing flyers tacked up in the local restaurants kind of thing that
Wow.
goes on here in Austin still today. But nowadays, when he was with Canon Films, they were a full-fledged, big Budweiser suspendered studios. They were middling in terms of their money, and they had it was a $5 million budget in '86, which that's $86. That's on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So they're able to snag Dennis. That was more smart than who could ever have thought he would be so great at that. But he's a tortured soul. He's played tortured souls from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Since East of Eden, and these tortured souls are tortured to giving in or going the other way and destroying everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. What was your audition like? What did they want you to do? Here, choke this guy or something.
Yeah, really. I had not seen the film, Toby's film, until 2 days before I went to do the audition.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I knew right away that I was going to be reading for Leatherface. I had been told that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh yeah, sure, I'm going to do that for sure. And I thought, there's no copying this guy. There's no jumping off from the last word he said. Though, I didn't watch all of it because I was really frightening. That was a very frightening. It still is.
Yeah.
Disturbing film. It's just like a psy-ops. It's like a horror movie on the top, and below, subconsciously, it's a real horror movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Because that could really happen. I mean, it's crazy.
Sorry, that sounded a little too gleeful. So at any rate, let me just get down to it. Came in the audition room, the auditors were there, and there was no dialogue for this character. And they said, here's your action. They gave me a board about, 18, 19 inches long, piece like a 6 by 3/4 inch. Go intimidate that actress. That's a saw.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I was successful. And they said, let's go see Toby. The next one was, but they said that, we saw the playwright next, Kid Carson. We did an audition call back for him, and he went, yeah, let's take it in front of Toby. And then Toby, yeah. He was, remember, I don't know if you saw the film Savior of the Universe, Flash Gordon.
Yes, I did a review of that movie. I love that movie.
Great movie. Uncle Eric von Sydow as Ming the Merciless.
Yes.
Right. He's just taking his power potion and he's tightening up his gauntlets to go have some super sex with whoever the actress is at that time.
Right.
And the power was coming off of him like a Tesla coil from The Prestige,
Ooh, I love that movie too. That's a good movie.
Brilliant movie, yeah. Jackman, I liked him in that a great deal.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale, my word, he could be pretty subtle for a change. Right?
Yeah.
Deeply, I thought was lovely. Oh God, I digressed. Where are we?
Talking about Hooper.
Intimidate the girl, and then get to Toby. And so it was me and Caroline in the room together with Toby. So as far as Ming the Merciless, all that energy coming off him, the room we were waiting in with was a Kid and Pat Orseth and probably some execs from the studio. And Toby came in. It was like Ming the fucking Merciless coming in, man. It was. Dimensions started shifting, colors started forming in the air. I mean, it was a lot of energy coming in that room. And I did one scene where he got it. Yeah, okay, good. And then he ran Caroline about 20 takes. And of course, Caroline kept saying, "You want to see it again? You want to see it again?" He goes, "Huh?" And so after that, we were said, "Hey, you're in. Sign up the papers and go report for work." So,
Wow.
that was about the size of that one.
What was the movie like? How was it shooting?
There's a lot of words to describe that are been used before in movies of this kind of.
It was pretty wild.
Circumstance. Oh, let me set it up for you. Canon Films signs contract with Toby for a 3-picture deal. One of those 3 gotta be sequel
Hey.
to Chainsaw 1. He didn't want to do it, and I don't blame him.
Really? I'm surprised
Yeah.
about that.
franchise that ought to run 9 or 10
Mhm.
sequels if it's handled right. Look at Freddy, the
Right.
house Freddy built, etc.
Mhm.
So, but he didn't want to do uh, another one, and because how are you gonna do another Michelangelo's David, or they could do it, but they weren't contracted necessarily. They had it in them. I really don't know the details of Michelangelo's contracts, but I would assume he would not do a 3 sculpture deal.
Right.
One of them you gotta do the Pieta again.
Yeah, that's hard to lightning in a bottle like that. There are so many things that have to go right for a movie to be great. So that's hard to capture.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And he was able to do it twice. I think that's a testament to not luck.
Mhm.
I would say if it's luck involved, he makes it.
Right. Yeah,
And that, like most of the directors, they make it. They make their fate. Like Reddington said, I make my own fate.
right.
So, and so he put it through. He knew what he wanted. I think the reason others have not really hit the dead center of that world quite like 1 and 2 did, because it's Toby's world, and who wants to live in that? And that's essentially where the director lives while he's directing it.
Right.
Because that's what he was doing, and that's how we knew what to do. He was there showing us how to do it by just his way of being. And then he would, like, for Leatherface, he talked to me off camera.
Mhm.
He would be Leatherface's thoughts, which is perfect. I mean, most actors would go, "Oh, how dare that bastard," Get
Right.
out of my mind, director. I'm an artist. Well, I was willing to be a super puppet because I was clueless. Well, I wasn't exactly clueless, but since there wasn't any dialogue, and that had been my mainstay for finding out what the hell was going on in the play after all those years of study. God, I'm just going on and on. I'm sorry.
No, I want to know. I'm enthralled. Please do.
I jumped out of my flow there. Bring me back. Where the
Well,
hell was
I was just asking about like what it was like actually during filming, like on set. Like, what was your experience like with that?
The pressure was on. 2 films had been done. Light Force and Invaders. I think it was Return to Invaders from Mars. Just a redo.
Mm-hmm. I know about those.
Excuse me. And then the last film to be done would be this one, the Chainsaw 2. And here was the ticking time bomb. Canon had signed contracts with movie theaters that the film would be presented on X date.
Oh no.
Yes.
Ooh.
The horror. The absolute horror. And Toby had been 20 weeks over on the previous movie.
Oh. That's hard.
That's like he did 2 extra movies more time. Usually like around 10 weeks.
Ooh.
And I think that's what Canon had budgeted for us, because we stopped just a little bit after 10 weeks. 10 weeks and a day or 2. They just pulled the plug, stopped it on the 4th of July. So there was pressure. Oh, baby, there was pressure, because the penalties were going to be so bad for the producing company, which you can't blame them. They had taken a chance, so they kept putting pressure on Toby. They tried to fire him twice.
Yeah, that's stupid. It takes me off.
If it's what some folks would call a smart money move.
Yeah, well, it's not smart to mess with the guy that could make you like millions and millions of dollars. Like, he's already proven himself. Like, let the guy work, you know? Ticks me off. Ugh.
Toby was sort of, I think, in the eyes of anyone. I mean, think of it like a casino.
Mm-hmm.
Rules change.
Right.
Looks the same, you know?
Right.
Kind of do the same thing, but the penalties are multiple, and the rules are so much more stringent.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
the artistic part was, I think, what Toby was really interested in. Kid, he wrote a screenplay that was really faboo. I mean, he wrote a play in dialect, a horror film in dialect. That was just lovely.
Neat.
Yeah. And it's classic, too. Boy meets girl. Yeah, the whole thing. The basic love story.
I was walking down the street yesterday, and I wasn't looking where I was going, and this car like almost hit me, and then I looked up, and they're what are those things that hang on the rear view mirror that smell good? What are those called? You know?
Oh, those little pine trees.
Yeah. But it was Leatherface, and I was like, haha, that's cool. Yeah. I saw it yesterday, and I was like, that's really neat. That's crazy how.
It smells like chainsaw oil,
Right.
sweat, dry blood,
Right.
and old screams.
Yeah, I wonder what that would smell like. What?
Yeah, I am curious. Perhaps it's chloroform.
Just go to sleep. It's like those people that have dream catchers in their car, and I'm like, no, please, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't be dreaming while you drive.
That'll keep your soul in the car, you know.
Right. So during what was your read on this character? Because I felt like you did a very good job of giving that character humanity, and that could have been a really hard thing to do. So what did you picture this guy as? Like, what was his life before? Like, because they hadn't really covered that, but I would imagine as an actor, you would have to, think about that. Like, who was he? Like, what was he like before? That type of stuff. Like, how do you picture him?
Well, one of the things about play directing, you find that while reading plays from the beginning of any written play to the present that you're living in, you find out that the basic building blocks of plays are pretty much the same. Family and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is there to. So it's about the pain and the pleasure of family.
Mm-hmm.
And all the plays, either the family blood kin or extended family or a newly, I claim you as my family. It's family.
Mm-hmm.
So I just looked at it like kids in the neighborhood,
Right.
Leatherface didn't get out that much, but he heard the girl on the radio, and he seen her, and his brain exploded. He had a super crush, and so the overall structure, to jump to that up a level, is the story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. With, the bell ringer being, and this one was particularly from a film I'd seen by Charles Lawton, playing the Hunchback.
About when was that? Was that like back in the day? Like a long time ago?
Oh, that movie? Yeah, that was probably like the time of Dickens, something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Because, that would be about right. He was hanging out in the bells of Notre Dame in Paris. So that would be about right, I guess. Yeah.
That's a good connection. I never thought of that, but that makes so much sense. He is kind of like that.
Esmeralda, he protected her.
Mm-hmm.
And he did not. I mean, Bubba did not physically hurt her, but he did betray her. He was on the. He was stuck. The family says kill her, and no.
Right.
Stop it.
Yeah, the way you played him, it seemed like he wasn't a bad person. It's like he kind of was influenced to be the way that he was. Like he wouldn't necessarily.
Raised wrong, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Told everything wrong. The soy. I mean, not wrong in the sense of the Sawyer's concerned, but in terms of living in harmony with your community.
Right. Not murdering people.
Not so good for that. Yeah.
That's really interesting. What was it like working with Dennis Hopper?
Dennis, not for nothing, is a star.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that. There ain't much that is ordinary that they bring to the table when they're when they're working. I don't know what his life is like off set.
Wouldn't it be so shocking if he was completely normal? that would blow my mind if he was just completely average Joe outside of the movies. Could be. I don't read him that way though.
No, he's wired a little differently, meaning that the way he uses his nervous system is a little different than most people. But as an artist, he seems perfectly normal to me.
Right. Yeah.
As an artist, and he has tremendous energy and focus and an ease that he blends together so that he's kind of in full inspirational mode, yet relaxed and pliable and expressive within the proper parameters of the job description of the character he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of a character personality as a job description, it's a little easier to work with.
Right.
And then you can call all that's my hat. And you can change hats, as we do, naturally. Like you got your interview hat on, and you may wear that as a DJ. But if you go to church, you probably don't wear that.
That's
I
right.
mean, if you're a church-going type in places where men aren't allowed to wear hat wear inside.
Right.
Or any kind of building, etc. So hats and job descriptions.
Right. So he could switch on and switch off just that easily. Was he like his character when he wasn't in the movie, or was he kind of like the same? Would you think he would be like a what's it called? Like a method actor, or was he just normal and then he switched on over to the character during the movie when they were shooting? Or was he just in character the whole time?
I got lost on the trail back there a little ways.
Okay.
Hey, Josh, maybe fewer pronouns and more nouns, and help me keep track of who the he and they are.
Oh, with Dennis Hopper, was he much different, like before a take, or was he about the same as far as you could tell? Like, was he in character the whole time, or was he different between?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. No, he didn't bury himself in a role like he was always Rambo no matter what. No, he was always ready to do a take. He was ready to work. He had all his concentration. He was ready in the moment. Had his lines perfectly. I got a story about his lines.
Tell me.
It was like early in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up, so we were shutting down shooting for the night. And it was Dennis, me, and Bill Mosley to my right in the makeup chairs in the makeup trailer. And they were taking the makeup off us. And Bill was still, he was still boiling from the set.
Yeah, you're fine.
The what to find out more about him. So Bill was talking about roles he had done that was similar to this in Leatherface, because he played Quiltface at one time, and then he started applying the most horrible conditions that would take him to the next lower designation face, like if he was quilt face, charcoal face, etc. And Dennis was laughing a lot. I asked him about Easy Rider, why he decided to make that film. I think he may have taken it as I was trying to, why did you bother doing that movie rather than I'm amazed that you were associated with a great movie too. And how did that come about? Perhaps the way I should have worded it. But he said, hey, I wanted to direct a film. Okay. So he's a little touchy, so thought I would throw him for a loop. So in the middle of him laughing his ass off at Bill Moseley's humor, I hit him with a line of his from Easy Rider. But when he was in jail with Peter Fonda, they had just been busted in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey man, he's Captain America and I'm Billy. And he jumped in without missing a beat from laughing and finished the line from 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that's a brilliant artistic mind.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I can tell he's a great actor. But
Yes.
also, another thing I wanted to ask about, like, what was your costume situation like? Like, what was your costume? How did it feel? And was it easy to use and wear and stuff like that? Because I love the mask and all that kind of stuff.
Now, wardrobe, your costume was a business suit
Mm-hmm.
and cowboy boots.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a boutonniere in my pocket. Yeah, it actually pinned onto the lapel. A fake one.
Mm-hmm.
And you changed it. I think some of this production stills have the red carnation there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they worked with a red handkerchief, and then they just scrapped any kind of color there. I liked it. It was hot though. It was really hot in the underground part of the movie because it was in an unair conditioned space with about 1 trillion light bulbs on all the time. It was over 100 degrees in there.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah, we were all sweating like crazy. It was just like a long Quonset hut steel room that used to be the Austin American Statement newspaper press room where they had the giant rolls of newsprint and printing off and spinning them out and printing those newspapers. So it was full of 40, 50 years of ink everywhere and inhaling that as well. But it had access to outside. Also to the heat from outside, for it had no insulation. It was just a big metal room, sort of like the box from Cool and Luke.
Oh, good grief.
And there were 2 side doors, fortunately, to the room we were mostly in doing the photography. And they had rented a mobile 40-ton air conditioning unit with an exhaust tube of the cold air about 3 feet across, 3 or 4 feet across in diameter. And they just back that in, crank it up, and blow a trillion cubic meters of cold air in there for a few minutes to try to bring the temp down, and so we wouldn't lose the patient.
It's great.
And then the cameras up, and then we close the doors and do it just one more time.
Were you actually fighting in the fight scenes, or did they have a stunt person doing that?
Bob Elmore was a stunt double, one of them. for Caroline.
Hmm.
And Tom was the stunt double for Luke. Not Luke, good Lord. Perry. Excuse me. Mr. Perryman, who played LG. Tom Morgan did some stunt work for him, and for Leatherface too a little bit, but it was mostly Bob. It was pretty dangerous working with a live chainsaw, which had to be done at some points.
Yeah. That's what I was asking, because that's a lot of that seemed dangerous.
They didn't have a stunt double, and Gunnar Hansen had almost gotten gouged twice by accident.
Ooh.
By total accident, not because of anybody screwing around or bad safety rules. It was just serendipity in the air as well. So I did not mess with the saw. My job was to do the roll and not get hurt.
Yeah.
Bob got hurt because he fell out of the pickup truck that was doing the in the opening part. It was sawing the kids in the Mercedes.
Yeah.
And Leatherface had not been wired safely enough into the back of the truck where they wouldn't fall out. So that happened. So Bob was the guy doing that, and he got injured. And and Tom Morga then filled in for Bob, and Tom Morga was thrown out of the truck too.
Wow, that's
then
crazy.
The stunt coordinator John Moyo came to me and asked me, with the entire stunt cast there too, and Bob with his arm wrapped in this giant clear plastic garbage bag full of ice and taped up like you see on the football games. And he was asking me if I'd go ahead and do some scene work with the saw and it would be safe. And I didn't trust him whatsoever.
I bet not. Ooh. That's crazy.
I had heard about how harsh and corporeal he is with his stunt people. I thought it was pretty low class to try to shame me into it, bringing all his people in.
Yeah.
I can understand Bob, but not all the others. And plus, it didn't make any sense, because if I get hurt, then it's totally going to be in trouble. I got hurt for a week. I caught pneumonia. Toby told me that it was the Bob stunt mask had been stolen, and he was using mine. And Toby had told me later at a convention that Bob had the flu, and that I had probably caught it from the mask. I don't know if that's true or not, but bummer if it had been. But I was in bed for a week, taking meds every 2 hours around the clock until I could get back. So Bob kind of filled in for one of the scenes I had been slated to perform.
Yeah, I figured it was dangerous. I mean, just the nature of something called Texas Chainsaw Massacre sounds pretty dangerous. That's crazy.
But tension was high on the set because of the time pressure to get the film. Toby was editing on the lot. He would leave the set and go on to another part of the lot and go to an editing room they had set up, and he would be editing there. I believe he also said there would be no editor's cut, because he said, I cut the movie I want, and that's it. And I say, well, yeah, it works pretty good for everybody so far.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I figured y'all were on thin ice with some of that stuff. Some of that stuff was oh my gosh, that was crazy. I have a question. So I'm an actor. I've been in a couple TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And a lot of the people that watch this are actors. And for newer actors, what advice would you give to someone that's trying to get into the industry or new?
I have several pieces of advice, unquote. One, don't do it. If you think that there's a possibility even you're getting the low end of the money of the people you see on the big screen, you are not correct.
Right.
You do have a chance, but it is so slim unless you go fight where they're giving out the roles that do that sort of thing. You got to be prepared for a long haul. Some of the best actors I knew that I worked with in this town as an actor went to Hollywood, and it took them 10 years.
Wow.
10 years, and they didn't achieve really what you would call stardom, but strong character credits and reputations, like Bruce McGill. You see him a lot, and some other folks have become very more successful in television.
Right.
In TV series, etc., quite a few. So it's Valerie Mahaffey and Northern Exposure. She was just, and so it's just infinity everywhere. So I need to stop myself from going on and on. We got off the show.
No. I mean that's important because like I'm working hard in the industry, and I know a lot of people would like to know what you have to say about that type of stuff. So
so other than don't do it, if you're gonna do it, think of it this way. Think of it as business as well as art. Put the business in a very important part of your consciousness that does things to make it happen. Because the business people are, so you've got to at least keep up with them. Then the other part is, there's no telling how things will go. I would say open a long haul IRA, like a Roth IRA. You just put money into it, and you leave it alone until you feel you're ready to retire. And lo and behold, you'll have something nice.
right.
And you contribute to it while you still have the extra energy in your life to do that. Back then, when it's accumulated and, feeling strong and ready to take care of you in your later years, where the energy isn't as extra as it used to be, be real glad of that move you made 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago. I put in some money on 30 years, and the other 30, it had grown 400%.
Oh wow,
so
that's good. Yeah, a lot of actors and stuff that.
Real good.
Sorry, a lot of actors that I know and people that are artistic, it seems like money is not their best subject. There's like.
That's why I mention it.
Right. Good.
You're in it for the art because the way you get your experience, other than paying cash for it at school or some kind of school, you have to pay the dues of doing stuff for free. And that has its place, but there's a belief by filmmakers that you can always not pay an actor because they love it so much,
Yeah.
But they have to pay their crew. They damn well better pay their crew because they won't be there.
Right. Yeah, that's not fair.
No, that's why, SAG came alive. And if you're an actor, learn how to negotiate. Seriously.
Yeah.
It can be a win-win. It can be something. Get credit, If they can't give you money, say, look, I want to be listed as with an and or introducing, something like that in the credits, so you can get some notoriety, because mostly what we're rehearsing is being in the mind of the audience. And that if you rehearse with that idea, you will find, I believe, that you will end up talking to someone who's sitting in your chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever you just located, that's where you want to keep coming to and expanding from there and exploring that.
Right.
Theater, I believe, has been a device for humanity to go through the stages of being alive over and over again, to survive, develop, and transform consciousness in order to move to whatever the next change is.
Right. Yeah.
And how do we stop going wrong? Because it sure seems easy to go wrong.
Right.
Well, let's record. Let's act it out. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you over there, you watch us. You watch and listen. We're going to do just what we did when we went wrong. We can't remember. And you tell us what. I mean, that's kind of it, right?
Right.
You work with the community and you expand your consciousness and include everyone. And out of that, something wonderful happens.
Yeah. That makes me think about, it's like theater or film, all that type of stuff. If you were to ask somebody, they would say, you can live without that. That's not vital to survival, but at the same time, it has always existed as long as humans have existed. And that, I find that interesting.
Exactly right. We're not so much, see, we're a multi-process creature. It's sign of a survival, developing, transforming thing we do. We're in a state of becoming. And at that time, we are also surviving, we are developing, and we are hopefully transforming the way we think or move or behave such that we can achieve what Maslow may call self-actualization.
Right.
Which I think is not so much being alone, but it's realizing that your community and you are closer than you thought possible and more important than you ever considered.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what's the gene pool up to? What is that gene pool up to? If it were a character, how would you define its job description?
I do not know.
Interesting.
It is.
And we're in the middle of it, man. It's us.
Yeah. All of that led to right here, right now.
Right now and right on.
Amen.
Out of the present into the immediate future.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we going to do with that?
That leads directly into the next and last question I have. What have you been up to lately?
Thank you for your question. In a world where starship technology is dreamt of, the question remains, how would you recognize it if you saw it?
That is the best intro I've ever heard for anything. A plus.
Thank you. So, how would you, let me switch roles for a second and take us from how would you know it? Let's say you already knew it. How would you show someone else, someone like you might have been before?
Mm-hmm.
So Jean-Luc Picard and the Star Trek gang go to a planet and they see that the development is similar to theirs, both in species and the planetary development is such in the solar system they're in that they notice similar kinds of patterns are repeating with the climate and with the physical and geomagnetic levels of the planet. And that because the cosmos are like a giant clockwork, that with the right computer and programming, you can chart where those pieces of the clock are going to be at any given calendar date from where you're measuring from. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Picard and gang projected that this planet would be in trouble because it would be in a state of magnetic recession. It's the strength of its magnetic field would be decreased, which is normal for it to do that for a time, and then it regains its strength. But it's a long, long time in terms of human lifespans.
What would that cause? What happens if that happens?
Too many pronouns. What happens if what happens?
Oh, sorry. What happens if the magnetic field recedes? What would that cause to happen?
Oh, okay. So the magnetic field, part of its job is to protect its own self, its magnetic field, from being messed with by the supercharged particles from the sun.
Mm.
The protons come in and they're attracted to the electrons. It's an opposite charge, and they just want to be kissing cousins. And they yippee, and they spiral down around the magnetic lines down to as deep as they can get.
Mm.
And these magnetic lines go through the mantle of the planet. All the rock and all the stuff down there, all those gifts, all that thing of those water, minerals, etc.
Right.
And these trillions of spiraling hot protons gathering together and spiraling in toward the center gather their heat, and they start to heat up the water in the rock.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 1 ounce of water in volume and you turn it into steam, the volume of steam you will have is about 17,000 ounces of vapor.
Wow.
And it pushes hard. It pushes real hard. And seismic problem, meaning volcanoes.
Mm-hmm.
China, just looking today at the internet, that China's dormant volcano for 50,000 years looks like it's fixed and to recharge and let fly. And it looks like it could be a bad one, perhaps as bad as the caldera in Yellowstone here in America.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's a huge, that one would wipe out pretty much the North American continent.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
So,
it would affect most of it, and some of Canada, maybe into Central America.
great.
The Eastern Seaboard might be okay. It depends on how big it is. So at any rate, we want to slow them things down. How can we stop that? So Picard and company say, look, we've got the technology. We know what it needs. What are the things that happens with a magnetic field on a planet like ours is that it's spinning. It's a spinning spherical magnetic field. Now, as I understand it, and I certainly want to be corrected because I'm not an expert, I'm an actor, but in studying this, I've run into a few facts, and I always look for corrections, that the poles, north-south poles, spin in opposite directions on a spherically spinning field. Magnetic field.
I'm going to have to go with you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I'm going to have to go with you about that because I don't know either.
Yeah,
So I'm
this is true, until further notice. notice. And this differential in spin causes a magnetic sheet to emit from it in all directions, in a globe, in a sphere. And this magnetic sheet waves like ocean waves, and it keeps going out to the end of its magnetosphere boundary, and that boundary bumps right up against the sun's radiating field. And what happens then, because the sun has more highly charged energy particles that will invade, this wavering magnetic sheet starts to pile up against that incoming invading torrent of protons and highly charged particles, and it's the layers bunch up, and magnetic bubbles, as reported by NASA, form in these folds, and they form such a number of them that it gets foamy. So it's a lot of magnetic foam that acts like a sunscreen, a sunblock. It slows down and traps those protons, so what comes out on the other side is manageable for our magnetosphere.
I didn't know that.
Not many do.
It's very interesting.
Not many do. I didn't know this until recently.
Wow.
And I don't know how many others knew this until recently as well, because this is really kind of a lot of what you would call new research.
Right.
So Picard says, well, what they need is some help there, because their Tesla strength of their magnetosphere will be down and will not be producing enough of the foam they need. Let's put down a foam machine for them. Let's make one. So they make a foam machine, and it's made to be automatic and run on natural resources of the planet. And as long as those natural resources stay in place, this machinery will continue to automatically run.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, that's cool. And then one of the members Scotty says, or whoever the engineer, but when these people are ready to understand the machinery, sir, the resources will be gone. What are we going to do? Excuse me, sorry. Picard responds, well, let's make it easy for them to figure it out. So, if you're Picard and your crew, how would you go about making a machine to do some work that it does do, did do, stop doing, can do again if the resources are added? How would you, generally speaking, make available to the future humanity, what clues would you offer for them to understand this?
It seems like it would have to be something. The only thing I can think of is make it adhere very clearly to as many basic scientific laws as possible. And then you could just follow the breadcrumbs, I guess.
Yeah. What do they already know? What should they already know? If they know anything about physics, the reality of physics, like numbers and geometry, that sort of thing,
Right.
then we can lead them by what they already know into what we know and what they want to know.
Right.
But does that seem like a reasonable
Does to me.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have at the pyramids of Giza. We have that.
And what do you think that they're doing? Like, or what they could do?
Yeah. They make foam. But one of the things they do is make magnetic foam.
And does that protect us, or does it?
Yeah, protects us. Now this is, I can show that it's an MHD installation. That's not going to be a problem. The end result, I think, is magnetic foam that gets produced and distributed down and up. That's the big picture that I've got so far. And that it works with the other two pyramids there. And I think it works with the other pyramids that are on the planet. That they'll probably be in some kind of energetic network that allows some protection from the incoming. It might be just a certain portion of the planet that may be allowed. I don't know. But I do know one thing, that these are not just stone buildings. They're machines. MHD, magnetohydrodynamic networking machines. They use salt water, a combination of salt water and particulates, piezoelectric particulates. Could be dolomite, might be something else. It might be Rochelle salts, but most likely dolomite, since dolomite is found interior to Khufu. And so that's the main boiler, is that place.
So it would be like a secondary atmosphere, almost, or something like that?
I see what you're saying.
The foam.
The foam would be carried up to the magnetosphere in the outer layer, which is called the ionosphere. The ionosphere is like thunderstorms going on up there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of electrical activity, and it's come from because the sun is the one that promotes the electricity, the magnetism and the electricity. So the foam starts to be pushed up, and it pushes it. So it's like an atmosphere made of magnetic foam. I don't think it's breathable. It's outside of any kind of Earth atmosphere that would be breathable.
Right. But but it's like the canopy that kind of protects us.
Yes, the canopy, exactly. The sun does the same thing with the galaxy's energy. The galaxy has really filthy, dirty wavelength energy coming in at it that's super hot from all the explosions and crazy black hole energies going on. And the sun puts out some of its own foam against the galaxy invading it. Seems like an invasion. I just want to absorb you and become bigger and better. That's all.
You're good at that. I'm
thinking. So back to so I'm only talking science. I only dealt with science. I'm not inventing anything. I'm reverse engineering, and people who can afford it. And I'm thinking Elon Musk would probably like this, because he could probably, I would think, get to Mars 50% faster than he knows already, because Starship level technology built the pyramids. At least Starship level. Interstellar. From one star to another. And that's what Elon wants. Getting to Mars is sort of a placeholder. The only thing that really kind of matters is being able to get from one star system to a next.
Right. Yeah, you need to get with him.
Yeah.
He's your guy. He seems like a creative and guy that is willing to try new things. So
he is. He's able to do it where others, in a way, others cannot, because he has the command of enough
nice. Yeah, to not kill each other. That'd be good.
Yeah, and how do we do it? Perhaps, um, you know, rename Giza the Mountain of Love and start, because the reason I think there is that it's over a big, see, the Giza Plateau is 60 feet above the crust of the planet. On the surface over there in Egypt, at that area, and it's all made out of piezoelectric material that will allow vibration and electrical impulses to be sent from the entirety of the 1,600 square miles of it down to the center of the planet. And because it's over the African, they call it the African blob, but it's like a geographic stone connection, like an extension cord from pretty near the surface of the planet at North Africa.
Mm-hmm. Like a reservoir, kind of.
Yeah, it's just like a big old stone extension cord connecting with the center of the Earth, which is an electromagnet. And on the other side of it, directly across from the African blob, is the Pacific blob, which doesn't extend up as far, certainly, but it's part of the global electrical circuit. Right now, the Giza Plateau, all the edifices upon it, are placed within the global electrical circuit. Once that apparatus is activated, it will tie in, electrically speaking, to the global electrical circuit and probably act like some sort of a intravenous, putting plasma up into this patient's skin from sunburn. You know, it's very similar to getting really bad sunburn. You get some plasma up there in the form of magnetic foam and buy us some time to get along, cooperate. Now, if I'm not mistaken, who Star Friends put this together, if it indeed is Starship level technology, which I believe it is, then my guess is how they put that edifice together, how they move objects through space-time. I think that's available. That knowledge is available, and that's the kind of object you want to be able to move from star to star.
Yeah, like what's that movie with the big portal, Stargate, like a Stargate or something?
I don't know. My thought is, since this structure of Giza is electromagnetic, I'm thinking they're masters of the electromagnetic spectrum, and that they have found a way to manipulate magnetic fields and electrical fields together such that they can harness, let's say, the magnetic fields of the planet and create within it an avenue, an electromagnetic avenue that they can travel down using the rest of the magnetic fields available to support it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Something like that might be considered like it's called a self-conducting loop or a solenoid. You know what solenoids are, sort of a loop of wire, electric wire, and it will move a steel bolt along the direction of the current.
Huh, I didn't know what that is. That's interesting.
And the center of the Giza pyramid has a giant solenoid conduit. The pyramid is wrapped with a stone wire, in a sense. It looks like a ramp, a big ramp, but it's built. It has the de facto purpose and you pulled it real tall, so you had a tall donut hole.
Right.
And you put rings around through the hole, like you put
Like that?
The donut open and you put about 10 rings. You hook the donut back together, and you space the rings out, and those rings would be the lines of magnetic force.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they go down through the center of the donut in parallel lines.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is your gun, an electron gun,
Whoa.
a linear accelerator.
Whoa.
That's what it's being used as, linear accelerator.
Makes
There are a
sense.
couple of them in the pyramid. There's one in the Grand Gallery. I want to, if I can take the time to explain this, because I may not have time to do a video of it, but I at least want to tell it.
Yeah.
In the Grand Gallery, which is a room shaped like a giant rectangle that is in the shape of a parallelogram.
Mm-hmm.
There's the north wall, the south wall, and it goes uphill south.
Mm-hmm.
And let me try to get my camera here. Yeah. So wall, and so there's a steam vent from downstairs that pushes up against the north wall, and then along the top of the ceiling, it hits the south wall and condenses and runs down the south wall and runs down the floor and goes north and runs back to the reservoir of water that's down in the subterranean chamber. All of the liquid that is formed in the pyramid is electrically conductive. Not only electrically conductive, but with piezoelectric particulates in it, it becomes supercharged and creates a tremendous amount of electricity. So this isn't so much like a dynamo that spools out sustained, clean, steady, usable one wavelength of electricity for end users, but it's more like thunderstorms inside the pyramid.
Wow.
The steam, because the steam essentially is a cloud, right? It's a hot cloud.
Right. So it's like a.
Go ahead.
So it's like basically the pyramid's like a battery that's making its own electricity, or getting it from underneath the earth.
No, it's getting it from the piezoelectric particulates. When you see a piezoelectric crystal has a structure of electrons that are in pairs, except one. And one side of the crystal is positive, the other is negative. Did I just lose you?
My battery said my battery was dying. No, I'm here.
One side is positive, one is negative, and it has one dangling electron. Now, if that piezo crystal has its surface shifted as little as 10%, that crystal will emit an electric field and will emit alternating current. The current, it squeezes out that electron, and the charge
Hmm.
Lots and lots of things.
Wow.
So, how do we get the steam? How do we get the steam? I'll tell you how it's the Bernoulli cavitation. Bernoulli was the dude who discovered all these cool laws about fluid mechanics, hydraulic mechanics, engineering. And then if you've got like fluid, like water shooting down a tube, and then it goes into a smaller tube, that water's flow rate will increase. It'll go faster. But the pressure that keeps the vapor into water decreases, so that its pressure allows the vapor to create bubbles. And those are bubbles of vapor made of highly charged, electrically conductive, and electrically explosive creating materials that are going to receive a tremendous amount of mechanical energy. Because when that fluid that's creating the large bubbles gets to a larger space, there is a larger air pressure, and that bubble now, instead of going this way, goes with at least several tons per square inch, probably more. I've read tens of tons per square inch.
Like a mini Big Bang kind of or something?
Well, it's the same kind of deal in nuclear weapons. Have a core, two hemispheres of plutonium inside a chamber, and on either side of the plutonium is an explosive that's set to smash them together in an implosion. And that implosion is tremendously strong. It creates the fission. In the cavitation in Khufu, the cavitation squeezing the bubbles creates a tremendous amount of electricity, which sends out a lot, which then stimulates a bunch of ultrasound from other piezo particulates, which creates more electricity, and it's just a sort of a vicious circle.
Right.
And so if it's like you had, ever notice if you go to the movie theater and they're making popcorn for you at the concession stand, the popper just starts, and it starts slow and it pops faster and faster and faster. It's kind of like that, but there's no stopping it. It just keeps on going until the pressure has to be released.
Right.
So that's why the well passage is a steam valve to travel the steam upstairs, and I think some of the openings on the northeast shoulder of the pyramid itself of Khufu, because it's been shown that people could get from the interior of the pyramid out to the exterior through one of those northeast shoulder openings. I'm thinking that's a pressure release valve.
Wow.
For the system.
That's incredible.
And you need stuff that heavy to be able to withstand the kind of pressures that are being used. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that's incredible. I was wondering if we could possibly get back with you because I want to dedicate a video to this, and whenever you have time, and I would like to get back with you and we can do a full video on this if that's okay.
Last word before we leave.
Yes.
The world ends. So, one of the things science has told us from this pyramid setup at Khufu is that you can use salt water with piezoelectric particulates and create steam and create a steam-driven pressurized system that you can use the steam to drive equipment like dynamos so you can get away from fossil fuels and perhaps better climate because we won't be burning it. And there must be, I can't imagine there isn't more. I've just been able to see a little bit, and I'm an actor. I think a real, I would say a civil engineer, geotechnical civil engineer especially, because they work on planetary sized projects like the Giza Plateau is, I would say, a geotechnical engineering project.
Right.
It's planetary size, yes.
Wow. Yeah, well, that sounds like it would definitely fix many, many, many of the problems that the world faces. So that would be very vital.
I think if we did a computer simulation, we don't have to go to the pyramids to learn them, a whole lot about them because there's already a lot. Scan pyramids have taken a lot of data, and they did a laser scan of all the pyramids. Oh, you hook that up into, Elon Musk's supercomputer system, don't you know? And it'll find out a few things, and hopefully, if hopefully, hope is not a process. I just have faith in the resilience of humankind.
Me too. We've made it this far.
Yeah, others have said that and been unfortunately shortly cut off. I think we can, of course, that ain't us so far. So let's see what we can do about this. I think we can do something good. I agree. We need to get off planet, but we need to be able to protect ourselves from the horrors of the galaxy.
Yeah.
In terms of the bad things that could kill us, and we can't be the first interstellar race, but so what? The thing that really counts is what's there in the plateau. What can we do with it?
Yeah,
That's the only focus right now, I think. So let's talk about it more, please.
yes.
And,
Please, I would love that, and I'm so thankful that you could do this with me. Like, I look up to you a lot, and it's been very, very interesting to talk to you, and I appreciate it.
oh, thank you. I also great appreciation being able to communicate with you and to the world in general. Please publish this.
Definitely. No, don't worry.
I could go to my grave knowing that it got out to the world. I could, because I will feel much better when somebody who can do something about this knows. Then it'll be up to them.
Yeah, we're doing it.
My job is to get it out there.
Well, you did a good job, and it was very interesting, and it was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thanks, Josh. Same here. We'll talk to you in the near future.
Yes, sir. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy.